The content provided in this program is solely for information purposes. You should always seek advice of physicians, therapists, and other professionals for diagnosis or treatment. Hello and welcome to Special Needs with me, Karen Das. This program focuses on a group of citizens with pretty much the same rights as you and me, but are sometimes ostracized and deprived of basic human rights. If not for proactive parents, practitioners, and key stakeholders, the future is grim. Those individuals fall under the umbrella of special needs. Today, a lesson in psychology, educational psychology to be precise. I met this spirited young man at a workshop recently hosted by the Down Syndrome Family Network of Trinidad and Tobago, where he was introduced as an educational psychologist. This branch of psychology is new to me, and maybe for you as well. And with education being key to success, here's a fascinating chat with Justin Rodriguez.
I'm an educational psychologist. I currently work in the EAP, Employee Assistance Program department at my organization. I do conferences, workshops, seminars. I have my specialization. My master's degree is in educational psychology, a double emphasis, psychological assessment and evaluations. So that's psychometric, psychological testing, psychoeducational assessment, psychological evaluations, that kind of stuff.
So what is educational psychology? And how do educational psychologists differ from other psychologists?
It actually is. It's kind of like a specialized psychologist. What we do differently is we look at children's learning experience to see what is affecting that learning experience for them. So we do testing, we do different assessments to determine in what areas of their learning experience this child is having a challenge, and how we make recommendations to ensure that this area is specifically addressed. It's not that the child can't learn, the child learns differently. So how do we address this particular learning need and have this issue addressed so that the child gets the most out of that learning experience? It's not new, but we don't have very many educational psychologists. It's just a handful of us. But I think it's definitely something that we need more of, because the testing aspect of it is very important. You need to have that assessment before we properly understand what is happening with that child and that child's learning experience. Just as if you have a physical ailment, for you to properly undergo that treatment, you have to do a diagnosis. The doctor can't address what they can't identify. So they first have to do the assessments to identify what is that area of concern before they address it. Just as we have to do the same. See what is that child's learning experience, in what areas they are having that challenge, and how we have that challenge specifically addressed. As of right now, in my capacity, I work more with adults because I work in organizations. I have worked with children before where I more incorporated stuff like art therapy, because that is more relatable to a child. They are more able to engage and express things through their art as opposed to what adults can do vocally. So they express that through their art, they express that through their drawings, through their shadings, and how they color, how they contour different elements of the art. Be able to gather information from, whether it's something emotional, some sort of emotional disturbance, whether it's more of a tension, whatever they're experiencing. A lot of that information is exemplified through their art. So with children specifically, to undergo that same process, to get that same information gathering, we incorporate things like art.
So we show up for the evaluation and an assessment is done. What's the next step?
So if it's a situation, I'm a psychologist, they are also psychiatrists. Or if it's a situation where someone comes to me and I undergo my assessment process, my clinical assessments, I realize that this is an area that has to be specifically addressed, maybe psychiatric care, or maybe a developmental specialist, maybe a speech-language pathologist, then I have a network of professionals that I can make these referrals to. So they are ensured that they refer to the necessary persons, the persons who are most equipped and most trained and qualified to treat with their specific challenges.
When it comes to improving the quality of life, we make choices based on information. Every single choice we make has information attached. The types of food we eat, the clothes we wear, the places we hang out, the people we hang out with, the type of music we love listening to, and medication. Medication is prescribed based on information. To provide information, data is collected, and this is how we arrive at statistics. Without statistics, we have limited information, and it's almost impossible to drive policies that can bring about a betterment for us and the country. So then why are we still lagging behind when it comes to compiling information that could improve the lives of those with special needs?
You won't ever get the accurate representation of the population that are experiencing these things. And why? Because of the stigmas associated. So only a handful of persons would actually access the resources available to them to treat with these challenges, but that's just the minority. A vast number of these persons are operating outside of what we call the systems, accessing that psychiatric care, that therapeutic care of whatever sort, that assessment, because of these same stigmas. So you don't ever get an accurate representation, which is so crazy. And we as a nation, as a people, can do so much more in terms of building that level of awareness and destigmatizing the associations with mental health and with therapy and with treatment, accessing support. And that's a major, major concern. We are still trying to find ways of circumventing those challenges. So it's a work in progress. Because with these statistics, we are now able to show up, okay, these are the most prominent related concerns. These are ways in which we can address these concerns. But if we don't have these statistics, then we're just really basing it on what little that we have presented to us. And it could be much more, and we can do so much more if we have the accurate statistics to demonstrate what we're trying to address. And it's just our Caribbean culture. It's so unfortunate that that's how we exist. But we can and we should be doing so much more as a people to ensure that we access the support as necessary or as warranted, so that we have the accurate statistics as needed. I have been seeing now more so than before, persons are more open and more willing to access support, whether it's just counseling services for whatever they're experiencing personally, whether it's assessment, whether it's for their children, whether it's psychiatric care. Persons are now becoming more aware and more open to accessing these services, which is tremendous, but it's still on a such small scale as opposed to the masses. It's still happening on such a small scale, and we can be doing so much more as a nation, as a people, as a culture, to ensure that persons are well informed of these services and they know how to access these services, they know how to access all of these resources. And I think that is something that is a continuous work in progress, but we're really trying to make it work with what we have, and at the same time putting things in place to circumvent these challenges.
Accessing medical treatment and therapy can be quite costly for many families. Now, could this be another reason why parents are not accessing treatment for kids?
Yes and no. Yes and no, because there are agencies. So the agency I work with, we are an NGO. We operate as an NGO, so our prices are much reduced compared to the private agencies. And still we find persons not wanting to access the service. It doesn't have to do with, and we even offer pro bono work. We do work pro bono, and still persons are not as open to accessing these services as they should. Because as I said, for so long these stigmas have been there. In the past recent years, persons are now doing things and putting things in place to eliminate the stigmas or to diminish the associations with treatment and seeking support. Having persons become more aware that it's not because you're less than anybody else, or it's not because you are a failure that you need to access the support, or you need to access this assessment, you need to undergo this assessment process. But having persons understand, okay, I'm doing this for my betterment. I'm doing this assessment to see what are the areas of concern that I am having and how I can specifically address these areas to improve myself and my well-being, my functioning, so that I can function at my optimum. And it's happening, yes. Persons are more willing to access it now, but still very, very, very snail-paced. I'm grateful for the improvement. I'm grateful for the progress. I celebrate progress no matter how small. I always preach that to people. Celebrate progress no matter how small, right? So I do acknowledge the progress, but I'm also mindful of the distance and the lengths that we still have to go to get to that point that we should be at right now as a nation.
So if we are not reporting cases and we're not accessing treatment, this impacts negatively on progress. But there are many other consequences to not seeking treatment.
There are so many, and they could range from something so severe to something just so light. Because if I'm not accessing the support, maybe I have a strong support system on my own. So maybe my family system is very strong. That could be a support for me. So even though I'm not accessing these services professionally, I have a strong support system that can help me manage what I'm experiencing. Or it could become so extreme where I'm not accessing the professional support. I'm also not accessing my personal support systems, or I don't have any personal support systems. So now I'm compromised in every way possible. So it can lead to suicide, it can lead to depression, it can lead to persons becoming severely overwhelmed and they're stressing themselves out. The stress manifests in a number of different ways. There are the physical symptoms that you can experience, the headaches, the nausea, the vomiting. Some people have experienced hair loss. These are physical symptoms of stress. There are also the emotional symptoms of stress that persons can experience. And when I say stress, I just mean any situation that leaves you feeling emotionally compromised, that affects your natural way of presenting, that affects your well-being, right? They are the emotional symptoms, the emotional volatility. The emotions are all over the place. Somebody tells you something now and you're good. And then somebody tells you something 5 minutes later and it's a totally different reaction. You perceive that differently, you receive that information differently, you internalize it, and then you react in a totally different way. And now that person, and we throw about these terms so loosely as well, that person would be like, you bipolar or what? Why you getting on so? All them mood swings, you bipolar. And that's another term that we throw about so loosely. Oh, you mad or what? You crazy? Why you just get on so? It's not a matter of me being crazy or bipolar. It's just that my emotional well-being is compromised right now. So I have less of a space between impulse and action. So I act on impulse as opposed to acting on reason and logic and rationally, And there are also the cognitive symptoms, easily forgetting things. You can't stay focused and oriented to tasks. The behavioral symptoms. Some people oversleep, some people undersleep, some people overeat, some people undereat. A number of different ways it could affect your emotional or your mental well-being. And persons need to be more aware of these things and fully understand, okay, these are the ramifications if I don't address these particular problem areas.
I have learned in Trinidad we tend to be quite cavalier in the use of medical or clinical terms to describe the way we feel or act. For example, you're mad, out of your mind, insane, depressed, stressed out. My guest, educational psychologist Justin Rodriguez, explains the difference between mental health and mental illness.
Yeah, our Caribbean culture, we automatically attribute mental health to mental illness. Automatically. You hear mental health, you hear psychologists, you hear psychiatric care, you hear counseling services, you hear support services. Automatically we think mental illness. And then that perpetuates the stigmas of the mad people. Oh, well, you mad, you can't, you accessing therapy, you going to a therapist or a psychologist? Well, you might come in here and flip the table or mash up the computer, mash up the mic here. Because you crazy, you accessing support. It doesn't mean that. That is what mental health is not. Mental health is not mental illness. Mental illness is mental illness by itself, right? And mental illness is anything that compromises our thoughts, feelings, behaviors, how we interact with the world around us, how we respond to others, how we perceive others, how we receive information, right? Anything that compromises that aspect of our functioning is attributed to mental illness. Our mental health, when we speak of mental health, we speak more of mental well-being. Mental well-being. Your thoughts, feelings, emotions, behaviors, interaction with others. As I said, interaction is an important part as well. As humans, we are designed to socialize. That's what we do. We are social beings. We need that socialization aspect. I'm not saying that everyone is going to be extrovert in terms of that's a personality trait, right? Some persons are more extrovert, some persons are more introvert. Extroversion means just you like engaging audiences, you like engaging persons and crowds, right? You feel energized when you engage a crowd. Introvert, you need that space for yourself. You need a much smaller, more reserved, more composed setting, and that's how you feel energized. That's how you regroup, and that is okay. No one is any better than the other. No one is right. No one is wrong. But when we speak of mental well-being and mental health, we speak of these attributes. When I function at my optimum, when I function at my best, when I function at my fullest, and we have to pay more attention to that and not use these words interchangeably. Mental health and mental illness. Not use the associations with the words interchangeably. Because when we speak of, as I said, mental health, we need to speak of mental well-being. And automatically, our Caribbean culture, we go to mental illness. So that's why we see the mad people and the crazy and the Saint hands, And it's such a strong stigma and has been ongoing for so long that it's hard to change these stigmas and circumvent these stigmas associated with it. But it's a work in progress and we are ready.
You know, sometimes we say it's a mental health issue or it's just messing with my mental health. Here's further clarification on mental health versus mental illness.
Mental health issues will mean that I'm experiencing an issue associated with my mental health. So it could be very extreme, it could be very mild, but that is still not mental illness. If I have a mental health issue, we all experience mental health issues. As I asked the audience today, if I ask who anybody in here ever experienced stress, and you tell me no, why are you lying? If I say I never experienced stress, why am I lying? And I could be stressed by anything. I could be walking in here and my phone falls, my screen cracks. That could be a major stressor for me. Some persons could be like, well, boy, that's something material. That's just a phone. Fix your screen and relax yourself. The phone's still working. Find the silver lining in there, you know. But that could affect my mental well-being. So I will now have a mental health issue. If that is my experience, a mental illness now is something more extreme and something totally different. Because I experienced something that challenges my mental well-being, doesn't mean that I have now developed a mental illness. Absolutely not. A mental illness is something that is classified and diagnosed and recognized over a period of time. You don't experience it one day and then, okay, bam, you have a mental illness. No, it happens over a period of time. And that's how you're able to diagnose that mental illness, with your assessments and with your observations over a period of time.
You're probably wondering what mental health and mental illness has to do with special needs. Well, considering there's a plethora of research documenting the negative impact of social media on mental health among young people, we cannot ignore this topic of mental well-being. Even pop singer Selena Gomez has had to remove herself from social media for a while as she struggled with personal issues. And students here in Trinidad and Tobago recently received their SEA exam results. And while there's jubilation on one end, there are many young children walking around feeling despondent about their performance. Surely this puts a lot of pressure on the young mind. And this can affect their mental well-being and, who knows, lead to some form of mental illness. Recently, there have been too many cases of suicide. How much longer do we turn a blind eye? These cases do exist, and there are many young children among us, maybe one of your own, not enjoying the best of mental health.
Suicide rates are alarmingly high, right? More so now than before, even in terms of the diagnosis of depression and anxiety, right? And that is actually a clinical diagnosis of anxiety or depression, not the anxiety or depression that we throw about loosely. Because, you know, again, in our Caribbean culture, we use these words so loosely. So if everything happened that doesn't go in your favor, I'm depressed. Oh gosh, I wake up this morning and traffic, oh gosh, I'm depressed. Now more so than ever, persons have become less resilient to life situations. And why I think so, I think persons have become so fast-paced. As a society and as a culture, we've become so fast-paced that now everything is at the push of a button. Everything is readily available in an instant, right there. But when treating with your mental health, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a period of time. Your mental well-being is going to be compromised by an experience you have now. Tomorrow, the experience isn't going to go. Right? It's going to happen. It's going to still be there. It's going to still be real. Right? And persons expect that they enter a therapeutic session, and after one session, they quote-unquote fix. That's what they say. Fix me. And it's not about fixing you. It's teaching you and giving you the tools and the skills necessary for you to treat with your situation, for you to manage yourself most appropriately, that when you experience a situation, you're now able to respond in a healthier manner. You're now able to cope in a healthier manner. As opposed to you come into this therapeutic session and, okay, tell me your issues. And you tell me your issues, okay, this is how you get fixed. And I tell you how you get fixed. No, that's not how it works. Right? We undergo the process together. It's a therapeutic process. So I let you know, I'm giving you the information that you are well aware of what this therapeutic process will entail, how we undergo this therapeutic process. And you are better able to recognize that these are my areas of concern. These are the areas that I'm experiencing the challenge in. You have to now be at that space of readiness to undergo that process, to treat with these situations. If you haven't recognized that and acknowledged that, okay, these are my areas of concerns and I am ready, I am within myself ready to undergo this process, then it's going to be of no use, because then you're going to see the therapeutic process as a burden. As I said, it expands over a period of time. So you're going to see these sessions as a burden, as opposed to you come into one session and you leave the session with all of your problems resolved. That's not how it works. And persons think that when they come to therapy, it erases all of the experiences that they had as related to the trauma. And that is not the case. The trauma exists. It happened. It's going to be there. The memories are going to be there still. It still exists. But there's a quote that I always like. And it's by one of my favorite authors, a French author, Francois de la Rochefoucauld. He said that the defects and faults in the mind are like wounds in the body. After all imaginable care has been taken to heal them up, still there will be a scar left behind. And that scar will represent the memories of that traumatic incident. What you are now equipped with is the tools and resources to manage that situation more appropriately. So, for example, you experience a robbery. You are robbed, or an accident. So let's go with the robbery. You get robbed, right? That is a traumatic incident, right? The first couple times you speak about the incident after it happened, you will be traumatized still. You might be shaken. You might be afraid. You will feel that strong emotional charge associated with the event, with that experience, right? When you undergo that therapeutic process, the incident is not going to be removed. The incident happened. It was real. What I'm now able to do is use the tools and resources that I've been taught through therapy to now understand that this was my experience. This is how I have dealt with it. This is how I cope with it in a healthier way, so it doesn't affect my mental well-being. So I'm now able to function as an adequate member in society. I'm now included in things. I'm now able to function competently. But these scars are there. The scars are there. The memories of the incidents are there. The associations are there. But you have dealt with the situation therapeutically, and these are the ways of coping with it. These are these are the ways in which I cope healthiest. So these are what I should capitalize on right now. And persons don't see it like that. Persons don't see it that way. And which is the craziest part of it all. That they don't see it in that way. They see it as a therapeutic process where you come and everything is automatically diminishes. All of the challenges you experienced before, or all of the challenges you came in here to address. And that's not how it works. So that's why we have to ensure that persons are well aware of what this therapeutic process entails and how they undergo that therapeutic process.
Well, they have support from services like yours.
They do.
And from people like yourself. But what if you don't have that support at home?
It doesn't have to come from at home. It can be maybe my friends, my peers show me that support. My peers make me feel good. It's really there's no one way of managing your mental health. There's no one way of preserving your mental health. It's really what works for you. Some people love exercise. Some people don't. Exercise has a way of recalibrating your body's chemistry. You elicit these chemical responses in your brain that make you feel good. The oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. These are the feel-good hormones. Right? As I said, when we begin to do any kind of exercise, our brain recognizes that as a threat. Right? The brain recognizes any kind of activity as a threat. What the brain does, it's so fascinating how the brain works. What the brain does is the brain elicits a hormonal response. So hormone is released, BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor, is released. And that prepares the brain and it preserves the brain and helps you better understand that fight or flight response. Help you manage that. And then that coupled with the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, that makes you feel good. So after we exercise or after we get that chemical reaction, we have better clarity of thought. You're able to make decisions more appropriately. You're able to receive information more appropriately because of that simple chemical reaction. I call exercise the life hack. Right? You don't need the medication to elicit that chemical response, something as simple as exercise. And the more frequently we train our bodies to exercise, the more frequently and the more quickly we'll experience that chemical reaction. So we feel good faster. And that's just a life hack. Consistency and repetition happens over a period of time. So that's something that we should really try to capitalize on, because we can exercise in any space really. It doesn't have to be you go and run a 2-hour marathon. Something as simple as walking, and the more frequently you practice it, the easier your body is able to recognize that activity, and you're able to release that same chemical response.
So there is hope.
There is hope. There is.
Well, we've come to the end of this program, Special Needs, with me, Karen Das. I do hope you find the information helpful and you are able to make much better choices, meaning you become more empowered. If you would like to get in touch with my guest, Justin Rodriguez, educational psychologist, here's how you do so.
Persons can get in touch with me, well, either through my organization or they can reach me personally. Because I do private stuff, I do my own private work as well. I'm in the position where I can practice independently. So I work through the agency Families in Action, or they can contact me individually. You can reach me on 732-6777, or you can shoot me an email on justin.recaldo.rodriguez@hotmail.com.
The content provided in this program is solely for information purposes. You should always seek advice of physicians, therapists, and other professionals for diagnosis.